Welcome to the Nonprofit Network. The show is called I Have Something to Say. I'm Gabriel Buelna, your host, and today I have Congressman Raul Grijalva, a special guest from Southern Arizona. How are you doing, Congressman?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, Congressman, you're a little far from Arizona. Our neighbor to the east has had some issues, and thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to be here. It's a good part of the country. I don't get down to this part of California often, and not as often as I'd like to, so it's a good chance to come and visit friends and hang out a little bit.
Now, we have something in common. Not that many people hear the name Buelna. I haven't heard the name Grijalva that much.
It's not that common. There's some people spell it with a B. My family spells it with a V. It's not as common as it's as rare as your name sometimes.
All right. Now, Congressman, let's get into some questions that we think matter to the public. As a congressman, you're here touring. You've done interviews, and in the last few days, we've seen the Tea Party have some victories. And you're here to talk about the issues that are affecting the country. As a congressman, yes, you represent your district. You represent Southern Arizona. But you also represent New York. You represent Alaska. You represent our national security interest. You are not a local elected official. Just very bluntly, to the public, why do you matter to us?
I'm one of 435 votes in the House of Representatives. My opinions, the positions that I hold in Congress as chairman of the Public Lands Committee, as a member of the Hispanic Caucus, as a senior member in education and labor, we're helping to shape policy.
Name me one issue, Congressman, excuse me. Let's just say that you're poor and you're unemployed. Name one issue that you could say, you know what, I'm making a difference to make your life important here in Los Angeles.
I really believe that in this deep recession, that one of the things that we did was to extend the unemployment benefits coming out of education and labor. I thought that was important for those people that can't find jobs because there aren't any. And I think the other issue, quite frankly, is to extend the ability for early childhood education to a lot of babies. I think that normally wouldn't get it. The point being, if we give kids the right start, their lives are going to be better than their parents. The times are really hard right now. I wish we would have done some things differently at the beginning of this session. We didn't, and we're trying to do it now. But the fact remains that in the middle of an election, it's very difficult to move some of these agenda items that I think are critical to deal with the economy.
Congressman, most congressmen, most elected officials have the responsibility of bringing business to the state. You know, even though there are some senators that say, my job is not to bring jobs, I think the majority of constituents would say that your job is to bring economic development. Are you still telling individuals, groups around the country not to visit Arizona?
No, after the court case and after basically the guts were taken out of that law in Arizona, after consultation with many good corporations such as SRP, Marriott, PepsiCo, who have publicly stated and are actively opposed to much of the legislation in Arizona that's going on and being proposed, we felt that it was time to pull back on that. It wasn't having the strategic impact that it should. Not that people were not coming, that the leadership of our state was not listening to this economic pressure and weren't going to listen to it. And so it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I decided that it's better to pull back and confront this issue both on the legal route and the more important route.
Are you calling people to visit and to engage Arizona economically again?
I'm asking people to continue their work with Arizona, yes. I'm also asking people that, and we're demanding of the corporations that they also join in the fight to undo some of these very unjust punitive laws. We're also calling on our elected leadership to quit scapegoating and fear-mongering on this issue. If I'm Joe Blow and I'm sitting in Minnesota and I'm going to take my family to the Grand Canyon, and I hear the governor of our state say, well, Arizona's full of beheaded bodies, rape and pillage, drug mules, violence run rampant, I, Joe Blow, and my family are going to go, well, maybe we need to go somewhere else. What she is saying is not factual, it's not true, it's to stir up emotion and to stir up fear. And so we're also asking for that painful and hurtful rhetoric to be suspended so that people know that the state is not a violent hellhole and that people who want to visit with their families should. It's a two-way street.
Congressman, the Tea Party, there's a lot of issues that we'll touch on, but the Tea Party has targeted you, and they've been successful. Not necessarily with regard to targeting you in winning elections nationwide. And the Republican Party is somewhat afraid of what is happening within their own party. Now, why is the Tea Party targeting you? And are you concerned about what they are representing about your district?
I'm concerned that it's not just the Tea Party, it's independent campaigns that have bottomless amount of money that can bring into a campaign without disclosing who they are. Corporations can do that now based on the Supreme Court decision, and they can affect any election. And the issue, it's not just why me. It's, some of us have stood very forcefully against some of the policies that are being promoted, not just by the Tea Party, but some of the people that want to return to the policies that we had for 8 years. So obviously, not only am I a local target, I'm a national target. I've said this nationally, and it's we're going to stand and fight. We're not going to run away from this.
Congressman, what in particular are they upset about with you? Why are they angry?
I really, that's really hard to define, and I'm not avoiding the question. The hard part of the definition is, okay, the economy, and we have solutions that differ from theirs, but we both want to get it resolved. I think the central issue is around immigration. We feel that it has to be comprehensive. They don't want to move beyond that point. We also there's also a difference as to what the role of government is in the lives of the American people. Therefore, limited scale, no government, and I believe that government has a role in intervening in the lives of the American people, not to run their lives, but to help with health care. The health care vote is a tremendous difference. To help with education, to help to preserve and save Social Security, not to get rid of it. So those are fundamental differences about the role of government in the lives of the American people, my view of it, and the view that they purport.
Congressman, from what I've seen, you were considered for a potential cabinet position within the Obama administration. Mm-hmm. Now, with the Obama administration, in fact, has been more tough on immigration, some would say, than even the Bush administration. Do you have any disagreements with the Obama administration?
I have the disagreement that I have with the Obama administration is not disagreement, but a sense of disappointment more than disagreement. Because as they were pushing for the security aspect, which I think is part of comprehensive reform, they also, we did not push the other things that need to happen. A path to legalization, family unification, those other aspects that deal with this very real societal issue is that there are millions upon millions of people here living in this country, working in this country with their families that don't have legal status. How you deal with that crucible issue is the crux of immigration reform. So we can talk about a security all we want, but until you confront that, we're not going to move, we're not going to really have a more secure nation, nor are we going to solve the problem. So if there is not disagreement, it's disappointment. I'm very glad they intervened in Arizona and gutted that law. I'm very glad the Justice Department is active on a lot of complaints coming from the Latino community in Arizona. I'm glad they're doing that, and I'm very gratified. But I disagree with them on some issues.
Were you in support of Senator Reid attempting to get part of the DREAM Act?
I was, and I continue to be, and hopefully we'll be dealing with that shortly. I wanted comprehensive reform, but right now the DREAM Act represents a break in a logjam and an opportunity to create some momentum around the issue of immigration. But you will be surprised at that debate. The DREAM Act, which is the most politically feasible issue of all the immigration reform issues, you will be surprised, and I think many people will be astounded at the level of venom and at the level of opposition to the DREAM Act that you'll find in the United States Senate.
For those who don't know, what is the DREAM Act?
It basically is a very realistic issue. You have thousands upon thousands of kids in this country that were brought to this nation as children and as infants through no choice of their own. They grew up here, they went to school here, and suddenly, after high school, they find that they are limited in their access to military service, their access to anything from the Peace Corps to college. And the DREAM Act says, let us give these students the opportunity to complete that education. Upon completion of that education, completion of that volunteer service, they will have a protection and will start moving toward legalization.
Congressman, if President Obama were right here, because you'll hear a lot of people within the nonprofit world, within the Latino community, within immigrant advocate groups saying that President Obama has not paid attention to immigration issues, has taken the Latino community for granted. Do you agree or disagree?
I think they were too cautious, yes. I think they played chess with an issue that had to be confronted and done immediately. But if President Obama was here, I would agree with him and say that having him as President of the United States right now in these difficult times is much, much better than dealing with what would be the alternative. And that's what's at stake for not just the Latino community, but the nonprofit world as well.
If you were to say, President Obama, a lot of these children are suffering, can't get an education, a lot of people are dying along the border. What is your challenge to him, though?
Not to be cautious, that I think the American people need bold initiatives to deal with the issue not just of immigration, but of job creation, reforming our educational system, and really implementing this healthcare reform in a speedy and right way. I would tell them move on those issues that there is agreement on, and don't hesitate to push the agenda hard, because I think the American people expect that kind of assertion.
What is Mexico's role in
tremendous role
improving and decreasing immigration?
So it's a tremendous role.
Are they ignoring their responsibility?
I think to some extent they need to accept the fact that they need resource help, development help, and both bringing up their social infrastructure so the people of Mexico will have the opportunity to raise their families there. They'll have their opportunity to health care and education, and the opportunity to have a job. It's a societal issue, and I don't know. I'm not sure this whole NAFTA trade thing really was to the entire benefit of Mexico as much as it was to the United States and Canada. So you'd have to relook at the trade policies, the development strategy that America has right now with the rest of the world, and particularly Latin America, and we have a role in the violence that is going on in Mexico as well. We need to step up. There is no coincidence that there are 700 gun shops within 1 mile of the Mexican border all along the southwest. We are 88% of the heavy weapons that are found in Mexico and confiscated. I think we have a role, just as they have a role in stopping the smuggling and the dope that's coming into this country. We have a role of stopping the cash and the guns from going that way.
The ATF has they're creating a special unit now to target gun smuggling into Mexico. Do you support?
No, of course I support that. I think it's insufficient. I think that unit has been decimated over the last 8 years, and it needs to be built back up. It needs to have as much authority and as much presence as ICE does and Homeland Security, and be able to have the resources to really carry out that job. We need to give the special prosecutors and the Justice Department the ability to freeze and hold assets in banks here in the United States, which is very difficult to do. So yeah, we have I agree with it. I just don't think it has gone far enough and has the resources to really pull the job off.
And in the next segment, we're going to be speaking with Congressman Grijalva about Afghanistan, about Iraq. We're going to talk about his nonprofit experience, and we're going to talk about how this congressman potentially is affecting your part of America.